Hi there, gorgeous! Hope you're having a fabulous day. If you are new to the channel, welcome to you. I make videos like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually. If you'd like to be notified of new videos in the future, please subscribe, and thank you in advance if you do. Today I'm showing you another real-time makeup tutorial. I have a whole series that I have started on this kind of concept, and it's basically showing you a makeup tutorial with very little editing so that you can see everything that I do from start to finish, up close, just in case you need some more instruction or you want to learn a new technique for yourself. And today I'm going to be showing you a halo eye. This is a eye look that has a pop of shimmer, usually in the center of the lid, or a pop of color in the center of the lid. Break it down to the nitty-gritty, and I hope that you will find it helpful. First things first, I'm applying an eyeshadow primer. I'm using the Thank Me Later primer. This is from Elizabeth Mott. You can find it on Amazon, and it is a really excellent primer. I have oily lids, and I'm always looking for good primers, and this is a pretty good one. And for those of you who are familiar with my eyeshadow application techniques, this is repeat information for you, but for those of you who are brand new and this is the first video you've seen from me, I did want to explain it a little bit further because it is essential to getting professional looking results. You do want to make sure that your eyeshadow primer is fully dry before applying any eyeshadow over the top, simply because if you apply eyeshadow when the primer is still wet, it can skip around, it starts to look splotchy, and you'll get an uneven application. So very important that the eyeshadow primer is fully dry before applying anything. And then the other thing that I do before my eyeshadow application is apply a base that matches my skin tone, and I typically use Wet n Wild's Brulee eyeshadow, and this is a perfect match for my skin tone. You do not have to use an eyeshadow. You can also use translucent powder. That works really well here too, and the reason that you're doing this is because it creates a smooth surface for the eyeshadow to glide onto. If you don't do this step, then again, the eyeshadow can pick up on areas of your skin that may have a little bit more texture than other areas, and you can get an uneven looking application. And I'm right at the finish line with pregnancy right now. So if I sound like I'm breathing heavy, yeah, I really can't breathe, so you'll have to forgive me. The eyeshadow palette that I'm using to create the look that I'll be showing you is the Wet n Wild 32 Pan palette. And I think I'm going to start with this shade right here, and this is going to be my transition shade. The brush that I'm using is from Sedona Lace. This is the EB09 brush. I'll tap off the excess, and I'm going to apply this directly into the crease. And you'll notice that, yes, I do. I use the same brushes usually all the time, and I know that irks a lot of people. But you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And that's why I tend to use the same brushes over and over and over again, because I don't feel like you need a million brushes. Having a few key ones will give you professional results every single time, and yeah, that's why I use the same ones again and again and again. Maybe in 2020 I'll try to pick up some new ones, but for now, I really love these, and that's why I use them all the time. And I'm applying this in the crease and carrying it a little bit higher because I have semi-hooded eyes, and when they're open you can't see my crease, so that's why I bring my eyeshadow up a little bit higher than usual, in case you ever wondered. And then I'm going to go back with my blending shade, taking a little bit of this onto an IT Cosmetics brush. This is their Dual Eyeshadow number 5 brush. It has 2 sides to it. I love this side for blending out the edges. It just gives you such professional, beautiful results. And the blending is easier in this step because I applied this shade on my eyes to begin with. If I did not apply that eyeshadow in the beginning, then I would have more splotchiness than what you're seeing. It would appear uneven. It wouldn't look professionally blended. I'm going to use a deep brown, the one here down at the bottom of the palette, and I'm using the Sigma E25 brush to pick some of that up. And this is really simply a densely packed crease brush. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not what this brush is. I'm using Crown's brush. This is their C511, which is very similar to the Sigma E25. I love both of these brushes equally. And they're great for getting into the depths of the crease in the outer V. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm applying this eyeshadow directly into the crease. So right where you have the fold of your eye, that's where you want this eyeshadow to go. And again, if you have hooded eyes, you want to bring it up a little bit, but not as high as the first eyeshadow that I applied. Really just letting the brush do all the work for me here. And you can see why I love it so much. It just blends beautifully. And these eyeshadows are great, by the way. If you've been wondering about that Wet n Wild 32 pan palette, it's of excellent quality. And then sometimes after I've gotten to this step where I've applied that deeper crease color, it starts to take away some of the top crease color a little bit, and then I get harsh edges, and you can start to see that a little bit on this eye over here. So what I do is I go back with some more of that top crease color, and I'll apply it over the edges to help blend out the harsh lines. And this is the type of stuff that typically gets cut out of my videos, simply because I feel like it's just redundant and nobody wants to see this, you know. But then I hear from some of you, oh yeah, I do want to see that. So I'm glad that you said that, because some of us don't really think about little steps like this. And then I go back with more of my blending shade, and then I'll blend out the edges of that orange eyeshadow again. And this just gives you much more professional looking results. It brings the whole look up to another level than if you had left it the way that it was before. Then to begin to get that halo look on the lid itself, what I do is I'll go back with the same deeper crease color that I used, that dark brown. I'm using the MAC 239 brush. This is one of those brushes that is worth the investment. It's my go-to favorite for lid application. And I'll apply this eyeshadow on the outer third of the eye. And I mean, you don't have to use the same crease color that you used here. If you wanted a different color scheme on the lid, you absolutely could go with something like one of the blues up here. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting the mic. One of the blues up here would be really pretty in place of what I'm doing here. You could also go with like a teal. You could go with black even if you wanted something a little darker. This darker teal. It's really up to you. I mean, there's no rules when it comes to this part of the application. And then I'm also applying it to the inner third of the lid. And you can see I'm not dipping my brush back into that eyeshadow because it's so pigmented that a little bit goes a long way. And you really don't need much for this part of the application. Because if you apply too much, then it can be hard to blend, hard to work with. So I'd say keep that in mind. And then at this point, I'll go back with the Sigma E09 brush and blend between those colors in the crease to soften the edges and blur out any harsh lines that may exist. And you can see that I left a blank spot in the center of the lid there, and that's where we're going to pop on that halo shade to give the eyes much more dimension and add something extra to this look. Now, there are two different ways that you can do this. If you're working with matte eyeshadows, you would take the matte shade, apply it to the center, and then tap between that eyeshadow and the eyeshadow out here until they blend together evenly. Or you can apply a more shimmery shade, which is what I typically like to do because I feel like shimmers on top of mattes in this instance really pop. They do a beautiful job with one another, and this is the time when you do want to pull out your shimmers and really make the eyes sparkle. So from this palette, I think I want a lot of contrast. I think contrast is important when you're doing a halo eye. So I am going to go with, I'm going to be boring today. I'm going to go with this eyeshadow right here, which is a white yellow. It's It's going to give a lot of contrast to this look, but you could also pair this look up with this light pink right here. You could even go with this beautiful light blue. I think that would be really pretty against these browns. So you make the decision for yourself. In this next step, you could also use glitter. Since the holidays are coming up, it's a nice time to pull out the glitter and do something festive, something out of the ordinary that you typically wouldn't do. And I highly recommend these LA Girl Glitterholic eyeshadows. The gold would be especially beautiful in this look. You see what I mean there? That's such a pretty color. You could also use something like this teal. And what else do I have here? Like this copper would be really pretty in this step also. Those are of exceptional quality. You do need to apply them with a glitter glue, just so you're aware. So what I typically do is I'll apply a little bit of glitter glue to the back of my hand. The NYX one is my favorite. And then I will mix in one of these glitter toppers with the glue on the back of my hand and then apply it directly on the center of the lid. So that is an option. Now when I apply my spotlight eyeshadow to the center of the lid, I typically apply it wet, even if the eyeshadow is of excellent quality. And the way that I do it is I'll pack the brush with the eyeshadow and then spray it with a setting spray. So, and then apply directly to the center of the lid. And the reason that I apply it wet usually is to keep it in place. If you apply it dry, you get the same effect. It's not as vibrant as what you're seeing here, but it can also move around on you. And I find that when you apply it wet, it tends to stay wherever you put it, and it's not going to fall all over your face. So I'll do a great amount of the application right here, let it fully dry, and then once it is fully dry, I'll come back and blend it. So I'm just going to leave it alone and let it dry. It does not take that long to dry, by the way. It's pretty quick because setting spray tends to dry pretty quick as it is. So now that it is dry, I'm going to go back with that MAC 239 brush, lightly tap along the edges. And this would be the same technique you would do if you were using a matte eyeshadow. Just tap the edges until any harsh lines that you see are blended away. And after I'm done with this part, I'll show you how to do the crease. But that's basically all it is. And if you feel like you need to go back and add some more of your inner color, if you feel like you're losing it, you can do that too and just blend the two into one another. You won't need much, just a little bit is all that's required to get that even blend there. And then once you have that done, I usually go back with a crease brush, again, Sedona Lace EB09, and I will blend the edges at the top also to get rid of those harsh lines. Now if you wanted to carry this shade, this placement above the natural crease line, you absolutely can. I've seen halo eyes like that where they carry this middle shade up into the crease. I don't like to do that because the way my eyes are shaped, it will transfer everything up here horribly. And so I tend to keep it below the crease line. But again, it's dependent upon you and your own unique eye shape as to what you feel the most comfortable with. But that is, in a nutshell, how to do a halo eye. As always, I am open to your requests, so if there is a real-time tutorial technique that you would like to see demonstrated with very little editing, feel free to leave your requests below and I will absolutely take those into consideration. For past videos that I've done in this series, I'll have the full playlist linked for you below also. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.